Hey everyone, I'm Anubhav, and that's not much of an introduction about me. I guess we can more focus on what we're going to do today. So today we are going to have a session, a live coding session around integrating Firebase with React, and a few things which you should know before we start is how you install React at least, and the basic structure of React. I think we have covered those things in the previous sessions, so I'll be skipping that. At the same time, I'll also skip some of the complex parts which there might be in this session. Rather, I'll be focusing upon exploring the features which Firebase has to offer and how you can use them in your project. Meanwhile, we will be kind of developing a small sample app. So I think the best thing to do once you want to do code is to create a folder. So let me start sharing my screen and we will explore how we are going to work today. Let's see. Give me a minute. Interesting. Great. So let me know if you're able to see my screen. Quickly know in the chats if you are able to see my screen, and we should be good to start. Great. So I think my screen is visible. This. Let me open up a terminal and this. We'll also need to open VS Code later on. But right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone a sample app which will help us get started very quickly. It's made using Create React app, and if you have been doing React for some time now, you should know what Create React app does. And in case you don't know, then you can quickly go to createreactapp.dev and you can start reading up about the command. You will have to get this installed first, and only after that you will be able to use Create React app. Let me quickly clone this sample repo, and this sample repo is actually about making a login with Firebase. So I won't be specifically discussing about how the login process works because for that you will have to understand Redux and Redux Thunk, and those are things which will be covered later on in this series. So let me quickly jump to this repository. Let's take a look at the code. There we go. We have opened the editor, and you will be able to see the common directory structure for React apps. So you have a package.json here. The packages are pretty much outdated. And in the SRC folder, you have the components. There are three right now. Then there's index.js. So index.js is basically the file which will be run first. And then we will go to app.js. So index.js has included the app. No. Okay, so index.js is including the root, and root is including app. So app is basically the third file which we go to, and from here we'll be going either to the protected root, which is slash, or else we'll be going to slash login. And right now this login won't work because we have not yet configured any backend for this. So you will have to configure backend. Now, how do you determine why is it not going to work? Because if you take a look at the auth.js, so auth.js is calling a variable called myFirebase, and myFirebase is set up in firebase.js, and you see that it's empty, right? So right now we need to create some configuration values for Firebase, and for that we'll have to go to Firebase console. So once you go to firebase.google.com, you can go to the console. Coming to the console, you need to add a project. Let's give this project a name, life code 101. That looks good. Let me try renaming this part as well. Oh, someone has already taken it. Nice. I don't currently need analytics for this project. And creating the project will take a bit of time. And while this is happening, let me close some of the extra tabs. Great. So meanwhile, let's explore what we're going to do, right? So in login, you see that there's a lot of styling, and then there's the functions which are going to handle the inputs and the login, basically the Redux authentication. And there's an email address field, and there's a password field. So from this, we can determine that the login which we are going to do is going to be email and password based login. So let me go ahead and set that up. Let me go to authentication, and we'll come to sign in method, and I'll enable the email password authentication on this project. And once I do that, I'll save it. And this is the only one enabled right now. But we also need this config, right? So where do you get this config? It's simple. Go to the project settings. And right now you do not have any apps deployed to your project. You'll have to choose the platform for which you're going to create an app. And I'm going to choose web. You could be doing something else as well. And now I'll have to create a web app for my application. So let me name it live code 1x again, paste to the app. You can pretty much click next on all the other steps, but in case you have never done Firebase before, you will have to read through these, right? And we are not going to use Firebase this way. We are going to use it from the React, which is we are going to use it from Node, right? So we won't do this. You will be doing this if you are doing it without Node. Basically, if you are just creating static pages. And it's asking me to install Firebase CLI. I already have this installed on my system, so I will skip this. But if you do not have it, then you will have to do this. And then click on next. You will have to log into your Google account, whichever you're going to use for hosting your app. And I already have done the Firebase login, but I've not yet done the Firebase init. So I will do the Firebase init here, and it asks me what services I am going to use. So right now I'm going to use hosting. Let me select that and then enter. Okay, so it's asking me how do I want to let me set up a default project for me. What do you want to use your public directory? My directory will be in build. Configure as a single page app. Rewrite all the others to text.html. Let me do that. Yes. Cool. So it has written some files, but we do not care about those because those will be overridden when we do a React app build. And right now we are concerned about these two files which have appeared here. Right, so firebase.json, there's firebase src, and then there's firebase.json. Right, so firebase.json is basically telling us where we are going to host this. So once we are done with that, we cannot do Firebase deploy right now because we are not ready with the entire code. And here's the configuration. Now, next time when you want this configuration, all you'll have to do is click on this gear icon here, come to project settings, and scroll down, and you will find it here the next time because you don't have to reinitialize your app. Let me go to Firebase.js, and I will quickly replace it here. Right. You don't have to touch this again in future unless you are probably adding some more functions like you already have the project ID. You have okay, so you might be needing to add for the database. I cannot exactly remember if you do need to add it for the database, but we will see that for later. Cool. So now we have put in the Firebase.js values, and we are pretty much fine to go ahead and give it a test run. So we will do npm run build, and okay, so there's a problem. It says that React scripts not found. The problem here is that I have not done npm install yet, so I'll have to do that first. While npm install is running, let me go and take a look at my Firebase project. So my Firebase project is project name and ID are a bit different. Project name is Lifeboat 101 and project ID is 101X. So I have a very bad public facing name. That's okay. I have not yet configured any support email, but I could either choose my own email or else I would have to enable a domain on this in order to get a custom domain email, which a lot of people do, in fact. And even in authentication, it's very useful because then you can just come to the templates and you can change the domain from which the emails are delivered. This is very useful when you are making production level apps, but while you are into sample apps, it's fine to use this Firebase app. Now let me go and add a user quickly to this website. Let me add and let the password be 123123. And the password will be saved in a encrypted form, right? You won't be able to see the password ever. So if ever you are logging into a Firebase website, you can pretty much be sure that your password is not being leaked to anyone, right? That's the security which Firebase provides you with. And we are done with npm install. So we should do an npm run build. Now the project is building. It's telling me that there are a number of packages which are outdated, and this is very crucial if you are working on a sensitive application, but I think we can skip that worry for now. So while we are waiting for this build to happen, a very quick question to all of you. What is your experience with working on websites and maybe apps or web servers or anything? While you answer that, let me go ahead and let me go ahead and deploy this. So let me try deploying this, and I'm hoping that will throw me an error, and it tells me that there's currently no active project. So I need to set a project alias here with my project ID, and I'll do this. I'll add the flag project and I'll copy my project ID from here. Project settings, this is my project ID. Quickly copy this. Now it knows where it has to deploy the application. So right now it's deploying live code 101X. It found 15 files in build. If you remember, when we created the Firebase init, it found just 2 or 3 files, 2 files. So it wrote 2 files there then, but right now it has found 15 files and it has uploaded them all, and our website should be live here. So all these files which it found just now, They were actually generated by the npm run build command, and they are all stored in this folder. So you'll be able to see there's the index.html and other files which are all being loaded here. Now let me enter my credentials which I created the account with, and there you go. We have signed in, and it says this is your app's protected area. Any routes here will also be protected, right? So we have created a login and we logged in into the app, but it does nothing for us right now. So let's add some sort of interactivity into this project, maybe something interesting. And let me try coming back to this. Great. I'll have to click log out to make it uh, send me out of the home area. So what do you think we could build here, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a registration form sort of for our members at DSC and SEC. And to do that, I'll need to have a form in place. Now, if you see, then you actually have a form in place in the sign in page. So let me go ahead and carry over that form to the to another page. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to modify the home page itself, right? I don't want to make any changes here right away because this home page, this dashboard is something where people will always be redirected to, right? So you don't want to overwrite this. What you instead want is basically when they sign in for the first time and if they do not have a certain amount of values entered for their profile. Say, for example, they have never entered their full name, they have not entered their phone number, or maybe they have not entered which college they belong to. Then you just want to, ask them those questions. But if they have already done that, then you should not be asking them those questions again, and instead you should say, "Hey," right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another component and we will name this component as um, complete sign up. So right now this component is very empty, and let me add some code to this. I've literally just copied over the home page to this, and I'll just rename this complete sign up, and it will have to export the same thing. So if you have attended the previous sessions that we have done with React in the past, you will be able to understand this code. It's basically just creating a component, and it's a stateful component because I could add a state to this component, and whatever is going to be rendered, it could load stuff from a state, and that state could be manipulated, right? So it's a stateful component which I have here, and I don't want the logout button here, so I'll just remove this part. I don't want to log out action on this page, and is logging out, logout error, this dot props. These things won't be needed in this page. And I'm going to remove this as well. And I won't need this connect. So basically, it's going to be just one page which people can view, and it does very like simple stuff. Right? It's not going to do a lot of authentication. It's not going to offer you a lot of options, but it's going to do just the thing which it has been created for, and that is to complete the sign up. Right. So let me create a H1, and it will read. Let me say complete sign up. So now they are going to say this page, and it will ask them to complete the sign up. I don't need to connect here, and I'll need a form to be embedded on this page. So let me carry over the form from the text field sorry, the login page, and I'll copy this part. I'll put it in this complete sign up. So you see, there are a few things being underlined in red out here. So these things are those which are basically components I am trying to use, but these components are not yet imported. So these components are actually being imported from up here from Material UI. I'm going to quickly copy them here so that all these components are imported from Material UI and I'm able to use those. And it's also giving me some errors on classes, right? So the style classes I have not imported and I'm not going to try to import them either way because then we would lose the focus from what we are trying to build. And let me remove this as well. I don't need this to, do I need a full width button? I don't think I need a full width button at the very end. I don't need a password field on this page, so I'll remove this. Other, what I need is their names. So I'll create a state and this will contain, initially the name will be blank. So we are going to ask them for their full names, right? So it's not like first name, last name thing. And we are also going to ask them for their college name, and even this is going to be blank. And we are also going to ask them for which year they belong to, right? And this is going to be, and let's just skip the year part. And this is the entire state that we have. Let me style it. Good. So this is the state that we have here, right? But we do not yet have a change handling function, right? Because in React, whenever you want a text field to respond to whatever you're typing, you want a function which can handle change while things are being written into it, right? So if you look at this handle email change, it's actually changing the state of the email based on the input field's target's value. So there's actually, and we are going to rename this. We are going to rename this to just handle change. We are going to make it generic, right? The code that we had in this page, it wasn't generic. So I'm going to make this generic, and this is the target. We are not going to do it like this. We are going to do target.name. Take this out, target.name, and we can do set state. This dot state dot name target dot value. Okay, so this is not working out. I think I'll have to figure out how to make it generic, or what I could do is I could simply pass the right things, right? So let me change this. We are not going to accept target, we are going to accept name, and we are going to accept value. We are going to replace the name with the value. Cool. So we are going to change the value of name based on this function, and we can also create another handler for the college name. This becomes college name dot value. Cool. And we will change this function. We'll make it event this dot handle name change event dot target dot value. And we are going to have to change the IDs. We're going to change the label that this has, and it will make the label full name. And we're also going to change the name of this field. So the name is actually just name. And we are going to create another such text field for the college name. College name. And again college name, and the handler function similarly will change. Handle college name change this function, and we should be good to go. Now handle submit is not yet created. Now we'll create a handle submit, but this time our submission will not be going just to the these files. It will actually be going to the Firebase project directly, and we won't do a dispatch. Rather, we will do a name and a college name. We'll fetch the name and the college name from the state. So these two variables are declared up here, and they have been changed by people typing in on these fields. So once they have been typing in here, then it has continuously been updating the state, and we are simply going to pull the values from the state itself. And we won't need this. Rather, what we'll need is we'll need to make a connection to our Firebase database, and we'll have to push the values to the database. Now, to configure the database, we'll have to come to our Firebase console, and we'll have to initialize the database. We create a database, and it asks me if I want to start in production mode or do I want to start in test mode. So I will start in test mode, and it's asking me to set up a cloud Firestore location, and this is fine. This is pretty much fine because you don't have to worry much about the location since Firebase is fast enough. But if you're going into production, then you might want to choose the regional ones based on where you have hosted your application. But for now, for hobby projects, it's very fine to choose whatever default option you are getting. And if you guys have any questions or any doubts at any point of time, then please do put them on the chat, and we can take those up as well while we are going through the session, because this is live coding and the doubts have to be live. So it will take some amount of time to provision this Cloud Firestore. And while it is doing so, let me introduce another very important thing to you, and that is the Firebase documentation. Right? So the documentation is going to be your friend every day. And from what we are doing, we are actually working with web, right? So this is where you want to go on the Firebase documentation. If you are doing React with, uh, creating applications for the web, so you need to go to this, and the entire detailed documentation for each of the features in Firebase is available there. Okay, so it says cannot enable Firestore for this project. An unknown error occurred. Now, I don't exactly remember why this error is coming up, but I remember it's probably simple to solve. So I'll just go ahead and Google this up, because what is coding without errors? So let's Google this. Great. So since you have previously used Cloud Fast data store in that wallet, you cannot create a Firestore instance. This does not feel like help to me. Yep, this looks more like it. So we have probably not enabled the Firestore APIs. Let's check that out. We'll have to select the right project for this, and The right project for this is Lifecode 101. Now that I've selected it, it's going to take me to Firestore API, and it says the API is enabled. Then why are we getting this error? Let me investigate a bit more. Let me try doing that once more. So now it's saying setting up security rules, and hopefully it should. Okay, it still does not do that. Let me Google this again. Now this is pretty weird, but if it does not happen, then we'll probably just go with the option for storage. But before I do that, I think I should have to configure it. Let us create a bucket, and we can try, but it's for storing objects, right? So do you guys know how you use CDNs? So anyone has any idea about content delivery networks? If you might have noticed, then you might have seen things like CDN.js around. CDN.js is a very popular CDN, and then Max CDN is another very popular CDN. So all these CDNs are available on the internet, and their entire task is to take out static files and deliver them at the highest possible rate. So what cloud um, Firebase storage does is Firebase storage is basically just another CDN. So let me upload any picture here, and I have a very nice picture of mine. So I manually uploaded this picture here, right? Now I can access this picture using a certain URL which will be provided to me by Firebase itself. And there you go, right? So it's currently uploaded on Firebase. And to access this, I actually need this token out here, which you see in this domain. And this token has to be programmatically set. It cannot be manually set by you. You will have to either request for a token from within your code, or you will have to come to this console to find that token, right? So let me create a file upload system for this. But creating a file upload system might not be the best idea to do right now. Oh, so we have our Cloud Firestore configured. It kept showing us errors, but well, it is configured. So I think we can move ahead with our app, and we'll have to start a collection. Let me create a collection. Let the collection name be users, and each collection actually has a number of documents, and all these documents will always have one unique ID, right? So that you can take out those documents by calling that ID. So to get the intuition around what um, Firestore does is Firestore is basically a NoSQL kind of database in which you do not have tables and columns. Rather, what you have is a collection of documents, right? You can think of it as a big cabinet, and in that cabinet, you have kept a lot of documents, and each cabinet has its own address, right? So all those cabinets, you can just pull out the documents out of them by simply referring to the number of cabinet which you have, right? So all these documents will have an ID, and let me set it to auto ID. I'm adding a sample document, right? And let the field be name and let another field be college name, right? So right now what I'm doing is basically I'm adding a sample document, but later on we will see how we can add these documents by using the React app, right? So initially let me make this Anubhav and let the college be cool college, and I have created a document, right? So you will be able to see that there's one document with this very random ID, and it has these two fields, right? So I could actually have used the different ID here. As long as it's unique, it's fine. If it is not unique, then you will just keep on overwriting the same things. We will take a look at these things while we are creating this app. Now let me quickly deploy this app, the one we have coded out here. Let me quickly try running it, and I'll do a console.log here of the name, and similarly for the college name. So this is basically me just checking what kind of input we have received till now. And let me do npm run start. So it will build a development server for me. It will take a bit of time. At the same time, what we can do is we can go to the documentation of Cloud Firestore and we can get an introduction to it, right? So you say it's a flexible, scalable NoSQL cloud database, and everything is synced in real time. That's pretty amazing about Firestore, and you can use it with all these languages, right? You can use it with Node.js, you can use it with Java, Python, Unity, C++, and Go SDKs. So it's pretty amazing, right? The amount of flexibility you have with Cloud Firestore, and you can actually just use it in any of the applications you're trying to build, which you're trying to make pretty scalable and you know synced in real time. So what we want to do right now is we want to read the data just once. Right? So for doing that, we'll have to call this. We'll have to call the collection, and the collection will give us a reference, and we'll use that reference to pull out the documents inside that. Right? But to do that, we'll first have to import the Firebase connection that we have in our project, right? So if you take a look at auth.js, then they are importing it from Firebase, and this is what we are going to do. We're also going to import Firebase from there, but I think no, this is fine. So we have correctly imported the Firebase values, the configuration to be precise, the configuration that we have stored here. So basically, it's initializing a Firebase connection to this value. And it has also done something for us. It has also done a base DB for us, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to, okay, let's ignore the base DB part for now. Let's just move ahead with this and let us try whether it does the name and the college name console, right? So it's deployed here, and this is not the password. Password is 123 123. Sign in, signed in, and we still haven't defined a route to that page, right? So what do we call this page? Do we call it /signup? I think we can do that. So let me go to app.js and I'll quickly create a route to that page. I'll have to import that component, and that component's name is complete sign up, and we are going to import complete sign up from there, and we are going to create a route to it with the name of sign up. So this says that this route can be only accessed if a person is already logged in. If they are not logged in, then they cannot access this page. If they try to, then they will be redirected to the login page. right? And let me save this. This makes this page reload. If there's any change which is concerned with this page on the source code while this um, run start is running, page will always reload. So let me come to sign up, and the sign up says complete the sign up, sign in, full name and the college name. Let me check whether they are doing a console log. Let me try entering hey, hey, go to the console, and yes, we have correctly captured the values. Now what we need to do is we need to send these values to the database. Now here's the problem, right? We can send these values to the database, but how do we determine where are we going to store them? So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a key, right? Each document needs a unique key, but right now we do not have a key for our user, or do we? Right? So if you go to authentication, you'll actually see that each user has a unique ID, right? So if we copy this ID, then it's actually a unique ID which can be used to create the documents. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the ID of this document so that I can read this document, right? So I have users. Let me add a document. I'll add this, and I'll add my name, and I'm going to add my college name as well. It has to be Capson. I've created this document with my user ID, and now I can use my authenticated values, the variable related to the authentication of my user, to pull out the document related to my email, right? So let me see how I can do that. So for that, I'll have to read about the authentication feature on Firebase. So if you come to the authentication features and you come to web, then you can go to manage users, and this will actually tell you how you can get the currently signed in user, right? So we are going to need this. We are going to fetch the currently signed in user, but we're not going to fetch it to just like that. We will fetch it only when we have submitted this form, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it with my Firebase, because my Firebase is the variable which holds all our values related to Firebase. And it's saying my firebase.auth on auth state change function user. And if the user is signed in, then I'll make them do a log of that user so that we can observe what are the values contained by the user variable when they have signed in through Firebase, right? And this is going to be very interesting because then we will know exactly the key of the value we are going to pull out. So let me refresh this. And it does not, okay, let me fill something here, blah, blah, blah. So it tells me that there's this user and it has a lot of values in it, right? So this is basically the value we are interested in, and we are just going to take out this value. We are not going to worry about other stuff that we have here, a lot of stuff in fact. So let's not worry about those. We just need the UID, right? So this is the value which we are going to need. So let me do let UID is equal to. So now we have a key for our document, right? We have the key for our document, but we do not yet uh, have made a connection to the database, right? So let me make a connection to the database. We are going to need a DB, right? So they have used a variable called DB, but we are not sure what this DB is, right? So this DB is actually the one which is declared here, right? So base DB is the DB which they have written just as DB and we are writing as base DB. So what we're going to do is we're going to import base DB as well from there. Let me check the casing. Yep, the casing is correct. So we have also imported base DB from there. And now we should be able to do this, right? And it is not cities ref for us, it is user ref for us. And it's not DB, it's base DB for us. Base DB.collection. What is the name of our collection? If you remember, the name of the collection is users. So we are going to do users. And this has just created the reference, right? It has not yet pulled out the values. The values will be pulled out when we actually need them. So right now we have created a reference, but what we need to do is we need to read the document with the particular ID, right? So we are going to do, now what is the ID of our document that we are interested in? It's the UID that we have created here, right? So we have fetched the, we have created a reference to that document, but we have not yet pulled that document, right? This function here, this dot get, which runs on a document reference, this is actually the one function which pulls out the data from Firebase, right? So it's like before this step, the Firebase connection had not been invoked to fetch anything, but when you run this function, only then it will attempt to find the collection, whatever collection you have mentioned, and it will again, if it is found, only if it is found, it will attempt to find the document with the ID that you have defined, right? So let me copy over this part, and we have a user ref. So we are saying get the user ref, and if that doc exists, then console.log whatever is the data inside that log, or else you tell us that there is no such document, or else if you find any other user, then you will have to tell us that there was a problem finding that document. Maybe that document does not exist, or there was some error, like say a network issue, or maybe too many requests at the same time. There could be an n number of errors which could happen here, right? So basically, it says base DB is not exported from Firebase. Firebase. Oops, it's exporting it as DB. Sorry for that. I'll have to export DB. I'll have to change it back to DB. Cool. Now it should work. So I should enter here Anubhav, and I'll enter here Cool College. And when I click on sign in, then it actually fetches the document, and the document has name Cool College, which is actually, if you see the casing of C, it's being pulled from Firebase, right? It's not the Cool College which I wrote, and it has my name. Now this thing should uh, actually happen when the page has loaded, and if there's a document which is available for that user, it should automatically fetch that those values, right? So I'll move this thing out from here to component date update, right? So component date update is a function which will automatically run when our component has loaded and it is just about to render on the page, right? So we want this to run just when this form is going to be displayed. So what we're going to do, the idea is that we will pull the values from the database, and we will set those values directly into these fields. And when the person, whoever has signed up, or else like they are coming to this after some time, they can quickly just change the values or update the values about them, right? So let me also set a user, and the user will initially be blank, and his caller's name and his name are immaterial to us right now. So let me change this from user to UID. And we can probably set the state to UID. Later on, we won't have to again, check on the database for authentication state change. So that would make life easier for us. And what we can do is this dot set state. Let me create a constant here. Constant self is equal to this, just to be safe. Self dot set state, and the UID can be set here with the value of the UID which we have fetched from the Firebase. And once we have fetched that, we fetched all the values, and let us again set the state of name to, let's take out this document data and let's name it where data is equal to doc data. So we can just take out what values, data.name and data.college name, right? So let's do data.name, and similarly for college we will do college name. Great. So this will actually set the values for all these things once the document has loaded and it's about to display the things. So it will automatically change the values here. Okay, it won't automatically change the values here right now, but we are going to do that. This dot state dot name, and similarly up here this dot state dot college name, right? So it's going to pull the values from the database. It will pull the values from Firebase, and it will change the values here, right? If it finds that document. And what we can do is we can refresh this page to check if it's working. And is it working? The answer is no. So it's not working yet. And what could be the problem? Component did update is running. I can find. Let me do a log here. What could I do? Let me just do ABC and let's check if that function is running at all. Cool. So it's not running. Now this is very weird, but it's fine. Okay, it has to be component did mount. Sorry, I talked about update, but it has to be mount because mount is the process which happens when the page is rendering, and you will see that the values are fetched from the Firebase and automatically set here, right? So right now it's setting the values here, and now we want to set it back to the database. So to set it back to the database, since we already have the UID, we don't actually have to do this again. We already have the UID, and we can just use these parts to update the database, right? So we'll come here and let's see how we can change the values. So add data, and this is how we set a document, right? So db.collection and then the document ID, and then set whatever value we want to. So this is what we are going to do right now. We are going to replace this, and we have our DB reference already imported from the Firebase file, and our collection is users. Our doc ID is the state UID. Right? So this dot state dot UID, and we don't need this user reference here. The name that we are going to set for this user is this dot state dot name, and we don't have a state, we don't have a country for this user, but we have a college name for him. So we have this dot state dot college name, and this is going to set the, or maybe like override the values which we have for this document, right? And once it does that, it will say that we have successfully written the document. And great. So But there's a problem, right? After submitting this, it's going to actually throw us out from this page. Probably. No, it won't, because it is not inside a form. So we are safe there. And refresh this page. It has pulled the values from the database, from the Firebase database. And what I'm going to do is a very nice college. And I'm going to click on sign in, document written successfully. And you will see here that the value has changed. And if I refresh this page now, then it should show me the new values which I have written for my user, right? So this is one user which I have created. And if uh, if we did not have these values already written there, then we could create a function which would do this, right? Which would actually try to fetch a which would try to fetch a document. And in case it did not find any such document, it would actually create a document with sample values or dummy values for that user. So this was pretty much possible. And we can actually quickly just change the wording here. We can change it to save, right? So this is a very simple uses of how you can use React for reading or storing data in your database using Cloud Firestore. Let me change this PHC in this CC. I have clicked on save and it has changed here. Right, so guys, that was about how you can use React with your Firebase backend and use the database and authentication to create something for your users, right? So your users could come in and they could, just create their own profiles. I know this does not look very appealing visually, but you get the idea, right? You get the idea of how you can work with the backend and the things that you will have to do in order to make your application feasible. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this development server and I'm going to run npm run build and I'll again do a npm Firebase deploy, right? So that's going to take a lot of time. Meanwhile, I could have some questions from you. So if you have any questions, then do let me know right now. Great. So I have deployed another version of this, and it should work here as well. Let me create. Let me try logging in. Once I logged in, I can go to sign up, and it says that this does not exist. So maybe I'll have to do or try doing something with my Firebase settings. But for now, I think we are good to go to see it on the local, right? So I'll probably have to change some settings there. So if you have any questions, then you could let me know, or else we are already at the end of our time. So that would be a good night to everyone, and you can reach me out on a number of places. So the best place to reach me out is at my website, xbrilliant.com. Once you go there, then you can reach me out on any of these contact methods. So you already saw one of my emails, which I have been using to log in and sign up all the time. So if you send me a mail here, it's going to work and I can answer your questions immediately. So thanks a lot everyone for staying through this session. And if you have any questions, do let me know now or on email. And uh, that's all from me. Thank you. So Faz, do you want to? Faz is the person who is controlling this session. So Faz, do you want to present your screen? We need to make some thank yous.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, Faz, your screen is visible, and you can
So,
see our outreach team here. And I'll let Faz take this away from here.
so this is our outreach team who have helped us in like reaching you out, people out, or like informing you about our sessions. There is Anjali, Rajpita, Rishiraj, and Anushka. They have been working really hard here for like posting on our handles to keep you all informed about our sessions. We would like to thank them. And this is our design team. A special shout out to Vishwajit for creating most of the posters for the session, and Ritesh also. So that's it from my side.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Faz. I think we have some questions here. I was unable to see all these questions previously, so let me try answering them one by one. Any tip on how to cancel the Firebase HTTP request on component unmount? So I'm not sure if there's a Firebase HTTP request on component unmount every time. I don't think I have seen or observed any such request. So maybe if you can send me an app which is demonstrating that behavior, I think I could take a look on why it is doing so. Because the ones which I have worked on, they do not display such behavior. Let me try checking it quickly on the app that we have built today. Faz, you can probably add my screen to the session. Thank you. So let me see if there's a component unmount. Let's go to network requests and come to, oops, I don't have it running. So let's see the network request it performs, right? So it loads all the bundles and chunks and it makes a request to identity toolkit and it fetches the information about the user. And this is happening on component mount, right? So let me try unmount. And unmount created no network requests yet. Let me try mounting and unmounting once more. There's verify password, two verify passwords in fact, and to get account infos. But I don't think there was a component unmount network call. So maybe you'll have to clear it out to me what exactly you're facing in your application, and maybe then we can solve it together. Yeah. So Faz, are there any more questions? Please do bring them up. Which is better, Firebase or MongoDB? So Cheyenne, Firebase and MongoDB are not exactly comparable, right? So MongoDB is just a database. Firebase is not a database, right? So if you see this login which we are doing, this login is brought to you by Firebase, and we also have this database here, which is actually the one thing which probably you're trying to compare. Then Firebase has this storage, and it acts like a CDN for you, always available CDN for free, and that's pretty great. And then there's hosting, There's also cloud functions which you can build, and there's machine learning. This is not on the web yet, but I think if you're trying to compare the Firebase database with MongoDB, then you're actually trying to compare, probably two very different things, because Firebase database is focused around making real-time syncs across applications and having a huge amount of scalability, and you don't have to worry about to what configuration do they use, right? You don't have to worry about like what is the configuration of systems that they are running Firebase on. But on MongoDB you will have to worry, because you will deploy MongoDB on something which is probably provisioned by you, or you will have to buy a service, and you will have to worry about what is the amount of RAM do you that you have on that system. So in case you are thinking of building applications which you don't want to worry about with scale as well, you should probably go for Firebase. But if you are very sure about what you're doing, if you know exactly the amount of control that you need on your application, if you're clear with that, then you can definitely go ahead with MongoDB and try it out. So there are a few more questions. Mounting creates the request, unmount should cancel the request. Okay, unmount should cancel the request. So the request is completed, right? I'm not sure uh, which request you are referring to, because for me, the request actually happens here when we do the get. This is the request, and once the request has been completed, then we go for the then part, right? So the request is actually being created here and it's being ended here itself. So the request completes, you get the response, you do whatever you want to do with the response, and that's it. Let me take another question. I'm into basic web development, looking for good resources to start with React. Okay, any good resources for React? I think the best thing to do for React is to uh, go through a lot with the create react app.dev, because I possibly read through the almost entire documentation of create react app, and it was very simple to understand. At the same time, they also have very good tutorials up here. Okay, I'm not able to find it here. I think it's on the React website. So React.js, and here's the tutorial which I was talking about. And this tutorial is pretty solid, right? You will explore everything that React has to offer, more or less everything. You will start with simple things, and you will actually go down to a lot of cool stuff, right? So maybe you want to explore this tutorial. If you are able to go through this tutorial, it will take a lot of time. It's not something which you will be able to do immediately. But if you keep the patience and go through this tutorial, it will teach you a lot. And then it will be very easy for you to pick up anything else regarding React. So I can probably share this. Okay, I don't have an option to put it here. Uh, okay, we will add it to the video description after we are done. Okay, mounting creates the request and mounts cancel request. Like if you quickly move away from the component, it shows an error that cannot set state in the unmounted component. Okay, okay, I think I get this. problem. So this problem has to do something with which I have observed. It's mostly when I am trying to make a logout from a website, and the logout is actually just based on unsetting some values in the Redux, and it forces a component unmount, and it tries to set some states after that. So I think this is what you're talking about, Demalida. I'm not sure if we have the same problem in this, but I have definitely seen that problem, but I have not yet investigated it. So I might not be able to answer that right now because I have not yet investigated it and I do not have any tips for canceling things which I have not investigated. But I have definitely observed that once. Okay. So if you have any more questions, then please do let me know. And I think we are overshooting our time a lot. So we'll take the other questions offline or else on our other channels, say the Telegram channel that we have. Probably Faz can tell you about the Telegram channel, other channels that we maintain. But for now, we will have to end the session. So thanks, Faz, for bringing that up. Since we do not have any more questions, so guys, thanks a lot for joining in. Thanks a lot for your questions, and uh, we'll share all the important links related to all these things that we have discussed in this session in the video description after we are done. So thanks a lot, everyone. Faz, over to you.
Please do check go to our Facebook and Twitter accounts. We will be posting the upcoming sessions info there only. So you can join us in the upcoming sessions. Coming up next would be a session on Redux by Devmalia Da. So stay tuned and have a nice day.
So Redux is basically the thing which I skipped today. Thanks a lot, everyone. Okay, we have another question. Should we go for Redux or hooks and context APIs? Um, I would say that is something which is yet debatable. Like you could actually sit on a table and just pitch in what you like or what you do not like. So there are actually alternatives to Redux, but I have been using Redux for some time and I have been liking it. Yeah, context for global or theme change. Yep. I have not used context API, I think. I'm not sure. I have used Redux. I have tried using hooks, but I have not used context API. So thanks a lot, everyone. I'll disconnect here. Thank you.